I had been on the road for hours, the sun beating down on the empty highway, when I first saw the town. Nestled in a valley, it seemed like a perfect place to rest and refuel. Little did I know, I was stepping into a nightmare. As I walked through the town, I noticed signs of recent activity. A steaming cup of coffee abandoned on a cafe table, a newspaper left on a park bench, and fresh laundry hanging on lines. Yet there was not a soul in sight. My unease grew with each step. I called out, my voice sounding strange and hollow in the stillness. There was no response, only the faint rustle of leaves. I reached the town square, where a large clock tower loomed overhead. Its hands were stuck at 6 o'clock, though the sun indicated it was well past noon. A shiver ran down my spine as I felt the weight of unseen eyes watching me. I quickened my pace, hoping to find anyone who could explain what was happening. My search led me to a small grocery store. Inside, the aisles were perfectly stocked, but again, no one was there. I grabbed a bottle of water, my throat dry from the mounting anxiety. Suddenly, I heard a faint sound like a door creaking open. I turned to see a pair of eyes peeking from behind a shelf. They widened in fear before disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. I rushed over, but the person was gone. Only the eerie silence remained. As I rifled through old papers and books, I found a journal belonging to the town's mayor. The entries were recent, detailing the town's struggle with an entity that emerged every nightfall. An unspeakable horror that hunted anyone caught outside after dark. The townsfolk had no choice but to hide until dawn. My heart pounded as I read the last entry. We must stay hidden. I bolted out of the town hall, the shadows growing longer and the sky tinged with the hues of twilight. I ran through the streets, looking for a place to hide, but every door was locked, every window shuttered. The town that had seemed so inviting now felt like a trap. The sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars began to appear. I could feel the presence of something malevolent stirring in the darkness. My breath came in ragged gasps as I frantically searched for shelter. Just as I thought all hope was lost, I spotted an old church at the edge of town. I sprinted towards it, my legs burning with the effort. I reached the heavy wooden doors and pounded on them, praying someone would let me in. To my relief, the door creaked open and a pair of hands pulled me inside. The townspeople were huddled together, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. They barely acknowledged me as they locked the doors and bolted the windows. I found a corner and sank to the floor, my heart still racing. Outside, the night was alive with the sound of something terrible prowling the streets. The air was thick with tension as we waited in silence, each second stretching into an eternity. I could hear it moving closer, its presence a palpable force that pressed against the walls of the church. We sat in darkness, listening to the sounds of our own breaths, hoping and praying that the night would pass without incident. As the first light of dawn crept through the stained glass windows, the oppressive weight lifted and the townsfolk began to stir. I knew I couldn't stay. I had to leave this cursed place before night fell again. I thanked the people who had saved me and made my way back to my car. As I drove away, the town slowly receded in my rearview mirror, its secrets and horrors left behind. As the miles ticked by, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The townspeople's expressions of relief seemed too forced, their movements too rehearsed. Just as I was beginning to convince myself it was paranoia, I noticed something in the passenger seat. A small ornate box lay there, one I had not seen before. My hands trembled as I reached for it, the air in the car suddenly feeling thick and heavy. Inside the box was a note. Written in the same hand as the mayor's journal, it read, "The entity is bound to an object. By leaving, you have taken it with you. May God have mercy on your soul." Horror washed over me as I realized the truth. The entity hadn't been left behind in that cursed town. It was with me, following me. I glanced in the rearview mirror, and for a split second, I saw a shadowy figure sitting in the back seat, its eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. The sun was setting again, and I knew there was no escape. The silence of the road was now a harbinger of doom, and I could feel the entity's presence growing stronger. My only hope was to keep driving, praying that I could find a way to break the curse before nightfall swallowed me whole. But deep down, I knew the truth. There was no outrunning the darkness that had now become my constant companion.